Do you find yourself hitting a wall of absolute exhaustion precisely 60 minutes after your lunch? You are not alone, and this is not just about the food you chose to eat. It is a biological battle occurring inside your blood vessels. When we consume carbohydrates, our body breaks them down into glucose, causing a rapid spike in blood sugar levels. Your pancreas, acting as a high-precision chemical control unit, immediately dumps insulin to ferry that energy into your cells. However, when this insulin spike is too aggressive, it triggers a rebound hypoglycemia, where your blood sugar plummets just as quickly as it rose. This physiological roller coaster is the primary culprit behind that sudden, heavy-lidded brain fog that ruins your productivity every single afternoon. Today, we are exploring a 90-minute metabolic protocol that scientifically flattens this glucose curve, keeping your energy stable, your brain sharp, and your waistline lean without needing a midday nap or another shot of espresso. Metabolic mastery. To understand the 90-minute hack, we must first visualize what is happening inside your bloodstream. Following a standard meal, glucose enters your circulation. If you remain sedentary, your muscles are not primed to uptake that glucose, leaving it to circulate while insulin levels climb to compensate. This is where the damage accumulates. High insulin over time promotes fat storage, specifically visceral adipose tissue, and reduces your metabolic flexibility. The key is to understand that your muscles represent the largest sink for glucose in the entire human body. By utilizing specific low-impact movements at the exact right moment, we can effectively mop up the excess glucose before it triggers the massive insulin response that leads to the inevitable crash. It is not about intense exercise. It is about strategic timing. We are aiming to move during the period of maximum glucose absorption in the small intestine, which typically begins 30 minutes post-consumption and reaches its critical, potentially harmful peak around that 60 to 90-minute mark, making your movement window absolutely vital for hormonal regulation. When you observe the clinical data, the contrast between sedentary behavior and strategic movement is staggering. Research indicates that a mere 10 minutes of low-intensity movement, like walking post-meal, can reduce peak blood glucose levels by 20%. Compare this to the sedentary group, whose glucose levels often climb for 2 hours, sustained by the lack of cellular demand. In the sedentary model, the body lacks the skeletal muscle contraction required to trigger the translocation of GLUT4 transporters to the cell membrane. These transporters act as little doors that allow glucose to leave the blood and enter your muscle cells for immediate energy or glycogen storage. When you move, you are essentially telling your body to open the doors to your muscles, effectively bypassing the need for excessive insulin secretion. This keeps your energy levels flat and high, prevents systemic inflammation associated with high glucose levels, and ensures that you do not face the typical 3 p.m. metabolic crash that most modern professionals accept as a normal part of their daily workday. So, what is the implementation protocol? It is incredibly simple, yet requires consistency. Step 1. Identify the finish time of your meal. Step 2. Set a mental timer for 30 to 45 minutes. Do not move immediately, as you want to allow for initial digestion, but ensure you are active by the 60-minute mark. Step 3. Execute a glucose-clearing movement for 10 to 15 minutes. This does not mean a gym workout. It means a brisk walk, doing bodyweight squats, or even standing desk stretches. The objective is simply to engage large muscle groups, primarily the legs and glutes, which act as the engine for glucose uptake. By performing this at the 90-minute post-meal window, you catch the glucose right as it enters the bloodstream, preventing the spike before it even happens. This is the ultimate biohack for metabolic health. It is highly effective, it costs nothing, and it requires no specialized equipment. By adopting this as a daily habit, you protect your cells from glycation and oxidative stress while maintaining a consistent state of high-performance energy throughout the entire day. To truly grasp why this works, we must look deeper at the GLUT4 protein. GLUT4 is a specialized glucose transporter that resides inside your cells, essentially waiting for a signal to move to the outer membrane. In a resting state, these transporters are tucked away, and your cells have a limited capacity to pull glucose out of your blood. However, when your muscle fibers contract, they release a signaling cascade that forces these transporters to the surface of the cell membrane, regardless of what your insulin levels are doing. This is why movement is so uniquely powerful. It allows you to process blood sugar through a mechanical pathway rather than a purely hormonal one. When you move at the 90-minute mark, you are effectively using a secondary express lane to clear sugar out of your circulation. This reduces the burden on your pancreas and prevents the excessive insulin surge that would otherwise lead to fat storage. It is the closest thing we have to a metabolic delete button for your last meal, ensuring that you stay in a state of fat burning rather than fat storing for the rest of the afternoon. Many of us believe that exercise must be hard to be effective. This is a massive misconception that prevents people from taking care of their metabolic health. When you look at the comparison between a sedentary afternoon and an active, movement-integrated afternoon, the differences are measurable in both short-term energy and long-term health metrics. Consider the standard sedentary approach. You experience high glucose, high insulin, high inflammation, and a rapid energy crash. Now consider the hack. You experience moderate glucose, low insulin, reduced inflammation, and sustained, consistent energy. Which one would you prefer? The math is simple and the science is sound. By sacrificing just 10 minutes of your time to move, you are gaining hours of productivity and avoiding the chronic metabolic diseases that plague the modern world. This is not about vanity. It is about reclaiming the power over your body's most basic chemical systems. You are the architect of your own internal environment, and every action you take post-meal dictates the hormonal reality you will live in for the next 4 hours. Choose the path of biological optimization. Another critical aspect to consider is cortisol. We often discuss cortisol in terms of stress, but it also plays a significant role in glucose regulation. When you are sedentary and your blood sugar is spiking, your body can perceive this instability as a minor stressor, triggering a release of cortisol. This creates an even more vicious cycle because cortisol itself promotes further glucose release from your liver, raising your blood sugar even higher. By moving at the 90-minute mark, you not only manage the glucose directly, but also send a safety signal to your nervous system. Gentle movement helps to dissipate the physiological stress response, keeping your cortisol levels within a healthy, stable range. This dual action effect, physically lowering glucose while keeping stress hormones in check, is why this hack is so profoundly effective for both your physical weight and your mental clarity. It is a comprehensive biological reset that works in minutes, providing you with a foundation of stability that prevents the mid-afternoon anxiety and brain fog that so many people struggle with during their workdays. It is time to treat your metabolism with the precision it deserves. You might be asking yourself, can I really keep this up every day? The beauty of this protocol lies in its simplicity. You don't need a gym membership, you don't need expensive supplements, and you don't need to block out massive chunks of your calendar. 10 minutes is all it takes to shift your metabolic trajectory. Think of this as a metabolic hygiene practice, just like brushing your teeth. You do it because it preserves your biological assets. If you can make this non-negotiable for just 30 days, your body will literally change its response to food. You will find that you no longer crave the mid-afternoon sugar hit because your blood sugar is already stable. You will find that your focus stays sharp because your brain is no longer being fogged by glycemic volatility. You are essentially teaching your metabolism to be more flexible, efficient, and resilient. Once you start feeling the difference, the feeling of steady, reliable, high-octane energy, you will never want to go back to the roller coaster of the past. Start today and watch how your productivity transforms. While this hack is highly effective, there are common mistakes that can undermine your results. The biggest error is intensity. Many people believe that because movement is good, more is better. If you go for a high-intensity interval run right after eating, you might actually spike your glucose levels further, because your body will dump stored glycogen into the blood to fuel the intense effort. You want to keep your heart rate in the zone 1 or low zone 2 category. This is the conversational pace, where you can still comfortably speak while moving. This keeps the focus on glucose uptake rather than high-performance energy output. Another pitfall is the timing. If you wait longer than 2 hours, the insulin spike has already occurred and the damage is largely done. The 90-minute window is the sweet spot for intervention. By following these parameters, low intensity, correct timing, you ensure the maximum biological benefit. Stop overcomplicating it, focus on the mechanical demand of the muscles, and stay consistent. Your metabolism is a machine, and you are finally learning how to operate it at maximum efficiency for the long haul. By now, you have the science, the protocol, and the underlying biology. It all comes down to taking the first step. Tomorrow, after your lunch, wait those 30 minutes, and then set your timer for a 10-minute walk. Experience the difference for yourself. Notice how your brain feels at 3 p.m. compared to yesterday. Notice the absence of the typical afternoon lethargy. You have the power to influence your internal biology with simple daily actions. This is the core of modern biohacking. Not gadgets or pills, but mastering the simple, overlooked mechanics of your own body. If you found this information valuable, consider sharing it with someone who is constantly struggling with that afternoon energy crash. And remember, the most effective tools are often the ones you already have. Your muscles are your metabolic engine. It is time you start using them to your advantage. Thank you for tuning in to this deep dive into metabolic health. Keep testing, keep refining, and keep pushing toward your highest potential. Your body will thank you for it in the decades to come. Take action.